All right. It's 4 o'clock here in Jinju, and we're ready to start our second round of the annual meeting of the Creative Cities of Craft and Folk Art. Welcome. I see we have cities joining us as well as some cities in the room. So let's start out by looking around the room where we are here in Jinju. And we have Santa Fe, Carrera, Aswan, Bida, Ouagadougou. I've been working on that all week. All right. And let's see, who do we have up on the screen? I've got to move around here to be able to see. Oh, Gabrovo, yes. Who? Ishian? Shangmei? Who have we got? Help me out. It's hard for me to see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 34, 15. So far, 15 people, it looks like, joining us remotely. Thank you for being part of this. And I thank each of you for your support of the Subnetwork and your participation in this annual meeting. The Subnetwork followed the lead of UCCN with a hybrid meeting. This isn't the ideal way to meet, but it is a means to returning to our normal schedule. We thank you, Dr. Young, and the Jinju team for your efforts to make us welcome and offer an incredible program for the annual meeting. The support of Mayor Joe and the Vice Mayor was inspiring. Attorney General of the Korean National Commission for UNESCO offered respect and encouragement of the Subnetwork. And many thanks to Professor Masayuki for the informative keynote address, sharing the background of the Creative Cities theory. And we thank our speakers, Peter, Giuseppe, Vittorio, Ronnie, for their motivating presentations. And a special thanks to our moderators, Professor Bach, and who I will forever call Professor Woodea, for keeping us focused throughout the week. Please look to the back of the room to recognize the technical team and the translators who made this meeting successful. Make it work. Thank you. So I will begin by giving my formal report. If you have got a copy of this, it was emailed to you. If you would like to read along or just listen. So I'll begin. I've always admired the leaders of the Creative Cities of Crafts and Folk Art. The early members of UCCN are the backbone of the Subnetwork. They have the institutional knowledge of the 17 years since UCCN was established in 2005. Santa Fe, Kanazawa, Fabriano, Ishian, and yes, Aswan, who's here and has a seat at the table, have served many years as coordinators. I thank each city for supporting their outstanding representatives. These individuals are appreciated for their friendship, dedication, and willingness to serve the Subnetwork. They have become my trusted advisors, and I'm thinking this might need to be a permanent committee of past coordinators. A city does not have to be a veteran member to be valued. The city of Jinju joined UCCN in 2019, but quickly became a leader in the Subnetwork. The annual Jinju Biennale includes a collaboration across the network that we all strive to experience. Jinju prints an incredible publication focusing on crafts and folk art, a publication that has potential for us to partner with crafts and folk art. I looked up, lost my place. Jinju has a creative team that didn't think twice before offering to host a hybrid Subnetwork meeting. At the same time, they are hosting the Biennale with talented musicians and dancers from around the globe. Thank you, Dr. Zhang and the Jinju team. Looking back at 2021, the Subnetwork member cities were very active. Yes, they were. We reviewed many candidate city applications and membership monitoring reports. This is a huge task, and I followed the Secretariat's recommendation to involve as many members as possible in the process. For candidate cities, 19 cities were reviewed, and each was reviewed by 2 cities. And the end result, we had 10 new cities of craft and folk art. We introduced these cities at our first meeting 2 days ago, but I want to run over this list because I think it's really nice. In Africa, we had 2 new cities, Nakuru and Bida. We're glad Bida is with us. There weren't any new cities in the Arab states, but that's one we want to work on. Asia and the Pacific had 6 new cities, Weifang, Srinagar, Qinghai, Bursa. Europe and North America had 3 new cities, Perth, Manises, and Como. Latin America and the Caribbean had 1 new city, Pasto, in Colombia. With membership monitoring reports, it goes by when you came into the network, and every 5 years you need to do a report. Well, this past year, there were 4 cities that joined between 2010 and 2013, and 16 that joined in 2017 that were required to submit membership monitoring reports in 2021. Help is still needed to complete the last of the reviews. Please volunteer to help do a review. This is a great way to learn what's happening in the subnetwork. And a reminder, if you know that you did not submit your membership monitoring report, please do submit your report. But I urge everyone to check on their compliance. And just to note, the 2022 membership monitoring reports will be due for the 5 cities joining the network in 2014, and that includes Nassau, Suzhou, Jacmel, Jindajan, and Picologan. I was proud to represent the creative cities of crafts and folk art at the UCCN annual meeting in Santos, and pleased to have a respectable number of cities in attendance during what was still a challenging post-pandemic world. Please review the annual meeting's proceedings for details, and as soon as I finish this formal report, I'm going to review a little bit of that with you. We had 2 sub-network meetings in Santos, and they were exceptionally productive. I believe you will be pleased with the organizational, focused results. The teamwork and the energy in the room in Santos was energizing, and it was good to see new members in attendance. The past 5 years have seen growth in the creative cities of craft and folk art, as 37 new members joined the network in that period. We have for a total of 59 total members. This expansion has required evaluation of how the subnetwork operates, including governance with protocols for electing leadership, planning, annual meetings, integrating new members, communicating, including a website, and collaborating on projects. Members joining the subnetwork in 2019 and 2021 have been at a disadvantage with the challenges of the pandemic and not being able to meet in person. As a group of creative thinking people, we are facing these challenges and working together to better organize our subnetwork. Committees are being formed to begin the reorganization. Please know, as I begin going over these committees, that you are welcome to serve on any committee that you may have an interest in. So the following committees have been formed and are in the process of appointing, recruiting committee members to fill the needs of our growing subnetwork. This includes a membership committee. Gatau from Nakuru has agreed to be chair of this committee. The goal of the membership committee is to create a new member welcome packet that will help new cities become familiar with the subnetwork and meet the members. As a new member in 2021, Gatau and his team in Nakuru are aware of the types of information needed to begin collaborations. And I thank Nakuru for serving on this membership committee. And when I say the city, it's because I know when any of us are involved, it means the whole team in that city is involved. A governance committee. Vittorio Salmoni from Fabriano was asked to chair. Fabriano is one of the subnetwork's oldest member cities, admitted to UCCN in 2013. Vittorio's experience as coordinator and his close relationship with the Secretariat's office has helped define the governance and protocols needed to build a strong subnetwork. Peter Ives, Santa Fe, will continue to assist Vittorio. Santa Fe was the first creative city of crafts and folk art, admitted in 2005, along with Aswan. Peter served as long-term coordinator of the subnetwork, and we welcome the experience of both Vittorio and Peter. We'll be hearing a little bit more from Peter. Coordination Committee. This is one I'm really proud of, because I think we are looking at communications in a different way. So the UCCN website map, if you remember looking at the website, has member cities identified as being part of one of 5 continental regions: Africa, Arab states, Asia and the Pacific, Europe and North America, and Latin America and the Caribbean. During the UCCN annual meeting in Santos, the subnetwork agreed to recruiting regional coordinators to assist with subnetwork communications. Many thanks to the individuals who volunteered to be a regional coordinator. I look forward to building relationships and growing these communications with cities that may not be active members right now. We need this communication. So here's what we've got. In Africa, there are 6 cities. In Gatau, volunteered. From Kenya, volunteered. Now I see that makes 2 committees for him, so he's going to definitely need some help. So think about that committee. Arab states, there are 7 cities, and Al-Hassa volunteered to be the regional coordinator. Asia and the Pacific, there are 21 cities, and Dr. Zhong here in Jinju volunteered to hold that position. In Europe and North America, there are 15 cities, and Annabella Diaz from Barcelos volunteered to be regional coordinator. Latin America and the Caribbean, there are 10 cities, and Marianne Carencio, and I will butcher this name, João Peso, I'm getting there, in Brazil, will be the regional coordinator. And then we have a scientific community, and you may say, what is that? I would call it the collaboration committee. And Isaac Cordero in San Cristobal de la Casa, Mexico, has offered to chair that committee. I asked Isaac because he's one of the most passionate members of the subnetwork. Isaac is always looking for new ways for cities to work together. He is not afraid to reach out and present a new project or call upon old and new friends within the network to consider an idea. This committee will propose, coordinate, and evaluate joint projects. So this is one where you will be submitting your ideas, and if you do submit an idea, plan on serving on that committee. And the website committee. And Giuseppe Biagini from Carrera has offered to chair that committee. Many of you have worked with Giuseppe and the successful Breads of the Creative Cities program. Giuseppe's experience working with cities in every subnetwork and his determination to learn everything he can about the subnetwork websites make him a good chair. The cities of crafts and folk art are the only subnetwork to be without a website. The goal of this committee is to research creating a subnetwork website and to present a recommendation to the group. And we'll be hearing from Giuseppe in just a moment with a little more details about the website. Subnetwork annual meetings. Yes, the post-pandemic world is full of challenges. Travel and meetings were hard hit, and getting back to normal is not easy. Work seems to have become more demanding while budgets are trying to catch up. Thank you, Dr. Zhang and the City of Jinju for hosting the Subnetwork annual meeting. We are pleased with the number of cities that came for the Biennale and for the meeting, and those online. We took advantage of the gathering of the Biennale that already had about 12 cities participating. And you put that and the hospitality of Jinju, and we have a good hybrid meeting. I'm thankful Zoom has offered a successful way to communicate. The time zones are always a challenge when planning a global meeting, but 2 business meeting times have allowed us to reach many members today. I'm afraid to even ask what time it is in all of these cities that we see here participating. The 2023 annual Subnetwork meeting is planned for Limoges, France, March 23rd through 25th. This meeting has been delayed due to the pandemic, but I've been communicating with Stephanie Radio, focal for Limoges. Please excuse my pronunciations. She is in the process of putting together information for mailing, so we may all begin to plan and budget for traveling and being part of the 2023 annual meeting. 2024. Protocol has any member interested in hosting an annual meeting be required to contact the coordinator 1 year ahead. Each candidate host city should plan to present their plan during the following annual meeting. In this case, presentations from cities interested in hosting the 2024 annual meeting will be asked to make presentations in Limoges. So if you're interested, let me know. I already have received a couple of inquiries today. An annual meeting committee will be chaired by the coordinator, working closely with the host city. The annual meeting committee will be working on creating standard guidelines for normal business meeting agenda, as well as formalizing the expectations for the host city. Growth in subnetwork numbers have led to changes in the realistic expectations of a host city's investment in the annual meeting. There's much difference in hosting 12 people and hosting 59. And that number will surely grow next year as we have many candidate cities. So, Deputy Coordinator. It was a pleasure to welcome Carrera as Deputy Coordinator this past year. We were excited to work together, but the unpredictable happens. Each of our offices continually conforms to the needs and priorities of our city, the very heart of our Creative City programs. In turn, the subnetwork has always been adaptable, adjusting when there is change, and there is change. I spoke with the mayor of Carrera, and they would like to step back for a year, which means we will be looking for a deputy coordinator who will then, in another year and a half, become coordinator. So if you are interested, get your credentials together, write a letter, have your mayor write a letter saying he supports you. But you'll be hearing more about that in the governance. The deputy coordinator is a multi-year commitment. Once we get past this and start to get back to normal, it is a 4-year minimum commitment. The deputy coordinator will serve they will serve 2 years, and then they are coordinator for 2 years. It is important to have a strong leader in training. So I'd like us to lay the groundwork for a successful future. And I believe this committee work will be part of really learning about the depth of how our subnetwork works. So once more, if you're interested in being part of the subnetwork leadership, please reach out to me or any of the past coordinators. And respectfully submitted, Mary Hammond, coordinator. Okay. Oh, thank you. Deep breath. Okay. So next on the agenda is to give you a little bit of an overview of what happened in Santos at the 14th Annual Conference of UNESCO Creative Cities. 14, but we've been in existence 17, So you start thinking, yes, we've had less annual meetings than we have years of being in existence. So there were many topics, many wonderful presentations. I believe they are available. If you have not seen them, I believe they're still available to watch virtually. But there were 17 items, but there were 5 items UNESCO really focused on. So it is your obligation to look at these 17 items, but I think you'll be pleased to see that our subnetwork is right in line with this. Okay, so one of the 5 was upholding the fundamental values of diversity, solidarity, and multilateralism. Affirming the economic and social and environmental potential of culture and creativity in their role as catalysts of inclusive and sustainable urban development. Strengthening the alignment of activities with UNESCO priority areas, namely Africa and small island developing states. Technology and innovation, gender equality, youth engagement, climate resilience and action, international collaboration, and post-COVID-19 recovery. UNESCO underscores the value of the membership monitoring reports as an important source of knowledge, information, and good practices. Although these reports are due every 5 years, there's a big push for us to do voluntary local reviews. There is nothing like sitting back and putting down on paper what you've been doing to make you realize your accomplishments. UNESCO continues to commit to building climate resiliency and sustainability. I would love to talk sometime. These are huge topics, but we can narrow them down to what's workable for us, what we can tackle. Okay. So I have to tell you that I do believe the regional coordinators, that's having these 5 regional coordinators to help with this subnetwork is a huge change to help us with our communications. Now, aside from that, we've got something that I think we've worked hard on, and I want Peter Ives to come up because he worked with Vittorio on this, but these are the governing guidelines for our organization. In the past, when we were small and we said, oh, are you interested in hosting the meeting? Good, I'm glad. We say, oh, can you do this? And we were very informal. Those days are past. We're too big for that. And we need to be fair and allow all cities to be part. So Peter is an attorney. He knows how to work these official documents, and I ask you to come up, Peter.
You bet. Thank you very much, Mary, for the introduction and the opportunity to address the Craft and Folk Art Subnetwork cities on the new proposed rules governing our subgroup. You have received via email a document that sets forth the current form of those rules. It is also in our volume of proceedings here at this particular annual meeting. I'm going to go through a few highlights with you and stress a few items in there so that as you conduct that review, you'll have some sense of what's in there, some sense of what these rules are meant to accomplish in the hopes that, again, we become a fully participatory organization. One of the significant things in here, just as a precursor, is that we consider this group to be fundamentally democratic. So as we are called upon to act upon various motions or opportunities, it will require voting. So that is a significant portion that is defined here within these rules. A couple of quick notes. As a predicate statements, it provides that we acknowledge the need for the city, the craft and folk art rules to bring consistency, transparency, and clarity regarding the administration and operation of the craft and folk art subgroup, given the expanding number of cities that are members of that craft and folk art subgroup. Indeed, we have grown to 59 cities, and growth connotes complexity. Complexity requires that these rules be adopted so we have a structure for how we administratively govern our subgroup. It begins by looking at the roles of the Craft and Folk Art Coordinator and also the Deputy Coordinator, and begins by looking at the election process, and that, of course, is one of those items I just mentioned that would be voted upon. And these positions, and in fact, almost all the positions in here are defined to be in place for a period of 2 years. So it's not an insignificant commitment, and one that requires careful consideration by anybody taking it on. The work for all these roles has expanded over the course of time, but again, necessary for us to have a smooth and functioning subgroup. So it does cover the election process for both of those positions. It goes on to define the duties and obligations of the coordinator and the deputy coordinator, and provides that the coordinator shall act as a communications mediator between the craft and folk art subgroup, the UCCN and UNESCO, and shall be responsible to the extent practicable for communicating the plans and agencies of the UCCN and UNESCO to the craft and folk art cities, and vice versa. So the coordinator is a very significant role because that is the interface between all of us as members of the subgroup and UNESCO and the greater organization of the UCCN. The coordinator is also called upon to lead the subgroup in the planning and coordination necessary for the annual meeting, and not only of the subgroup, but also planning and coordination for the meeting of the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, insofar as that is a responsibility of each of our subgroups to participate in. There are many other items defined. It goes on to then talk about the deputy coordinator. And of course, one issue and one area we have had challenges in is just getting a roster of who is the focal point, who are the points of contact for each of our 59 cities. We're all aware that change happens, and sometimes that change results in a little lack of communication. So one significant obligation of that deputy is to keep a current roster of all the participants, all the focal points, so that we will always be able to communicate effectively within the subgroup, which can be challenging. That deputy coordinator will also be responsible to review, coordinate the review of the membership monitoring reports of the craft and folk arts cities, and basically lead that process. And I would say that our coordinator, Mary, has been doing all of those herself. So I can tell you it's a significant process when you have both those roles being accomplished by a single person. The rules go on to talk about a number of committees, and I would note that we have it essentially defines 2 standing committees, and Mary also mentioned 4 ad hoc committees. The 2 standing committees, meaning that they are very permanent in nature, are the Coordination Committee, which is comprised of the 5 geographic coordinators that Mary mentioned, and also the Scientific Committee, because the work that those committees will be doing is an ongoing one, and so those committees need to remain in existence. The 4 ad hoc committees that Mary mentioned, which are not referenced in the rules at this point in time, but they were membership, governance, website, and the annual meeting committees. And those are more cyclical in nature. Once the membership committee has the process for bringing on new members and that's accomplished, that committee will have performed its work. Governance is generally formed when and if needed for specific purposes. The website obviously is directed towards creating a website, which once created is then simply maintained, and the annual meeting will be, again, a cyclical thing, but will involve different members who are involved in that particular location, if you will. The rules go on to cover the annual and special meetings of the subgroup, including such things as notice, such things as how to establish a quorum and what that means for the purpose of actually engaging in business, as well as trying to define the voting process, which should be something we are all concerned about as participants in the network. It then continues on to discuss the focal points. Each of our member cities should have a focal point, and it speaks to the roles and responsibilities that each focal point takes on by virtue of becoming a focal point within the organization, and goes on. And I can't stress enough that participation is such an important thing. I know in talking with Mary when notices were going out about this meeting or notices were going out about monitoring reports, there were some folks who, and it may have been that whoever was the focal point changed, but there was no response. I would urge everybody to adopt a rule of thumb that says if you get a correspondence, an email from the coordinator, from the deputy coordinator, from the coordinator committee, that you respond to that. Perhaps it's just an acknowledgement that you have received it and are considering it, but respond to it within 48 hours so folks know you are alive and well and, again, engaged in the subnetwork meeting and administration. Those are probably the major points I wanted to mention to you in the rules. Again, please do read through them. I know discussions here at the meeting have resulted in already a few recommended changes, so this will be an ongoing process. The intent ultimately is that at the annual meeting in Limoges, we will actually vote on the rules and adopt them formally on behalf of the subnetwork, so that we have in place those means necessary to ensure that we have a smooth administrative process. And of course, if there are recommended changes, recommended modifications, please then send those to either Mary, to Vittorio Salmoni, or myself, so that we can look at those and make that part of the discussion at Limoges, so that we all agree to a set of rules that will help us move forward into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. No. Thank you, Peter. He verbalized that as I could not. I'm looking at the screen, and I think if we count the 3 people on cell phones, that we have maybe 17 or 18 people. Am I right? Plus, we have about 10 in the room, and we had some people this at our earlier session that are not here now. So that's pretty good, and I'm excited. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this. All right, regrouping here. So there is something, no, I'm going to wait on that. Okay. Next, I wanted to talk about the website. Would you like to come up? Am I supposed to be talking about something else? No, that's good. Okay, I'm looking at my list real fast. So coordinators. Okay, we're good. So we're going to make a little bit of a change here as Giuseppe comes up and talks about the website and how we plan to proceed. This is not an easy task. So thank you for taking on this committee, Giuseppe.
Okay. We went over this initial screens here when we were in Santos, essentially recognizing that the only cluster that does not have a functioning website is craft and folk arts, and definitely we need to make sure that we cover that problem. And so we took an overview of what the other clusters' website look like, and then we came up with some recommendations that are described into the rules of governance. It's the last section of that document, and mainly we have summarized also here on this sets of slides. The idea is to divide the project into two main objectives. So one is a very basic website where we list all the craft and folk art members in alphabetical orders. By the way, the UNESCO Creative Cities Network website does not do that, so at least in ours we should do that. And describe each member city with a very minimal number of words, at least. And that description can also link to the private website of the creative cities. We should definitely include the three main craft and or folk art specialty of the city, so that everyone starts to identify the unique cultural asset of the member. Describe what are the priorities that have been listed into the application dossier of the city or their report, annual 4 years report. Make sure that the list of the reference points into the city are updated, both in terms of names and emails. Make sure that all the local events and cultural activities, festivals and exchanges are included and updated. We'll see how frequently. And at least 5 to 10 high-quality pictures that essentially, images that essentially describe the city and its cultural assets. By doing this, we will be doing exactly what other websites are essentially doing. But what we are proposing here is also to add more advanced features that essentially the other website still at least don't show externally. They might be planning on it, but they are not showing them externally. So the advanced features of the website should include two areas that essentially are described into rule of governance, which allow to do a review, a discussion, a voting, and allow people to engage in the governance of the cluster, even remotely. Definitely to be the container of all the documents and reports from the meetings of the cluster. And another important add-on advanced feature could be to help both the new members get up to speed faster, so with a list of documentations or what to do manual, to become the perfect new member, or educate possible new applicants to enter into the cluster of craft and folk art to understand what is needed, what are the requirements. And the second advanced feature is something that the Creative Knowledge Foundation wants to offer, which is make available to all the members of the craft and folk art the Creative Knowledge platform, so that we can talk about the people of the community of the Creative City, what they do, so the products that they develop, and the places where they work. This should be a more advanced way of describing both to each other the members of the cluster, and also to give visibility to the creatives of each community. Let me skip this, which is essentially how the Creative Knowledge Platform works, but let me just tell you that essentially you can create a lot of interaction between the members. You can create projects, you can create a digital library describing elements of your community, interactive books, and so forth. And in particular also geotagged itineraries that could be a promotion used for promoting the creatives of your city. The important characteristics of this advanced feature is essentially that either a city has its own website or not, they can really take advantage of the functionality of storytelling, so storytelling the heritage of their community. It's an online tool that allows for autonomous and decentralized management of local information, meaning each city can be responsible for their own data, can manage that data directly by themselves, even if there is a centralized control of what can get published on the cluster website. So that's something that either a committee or the coordinator can do. Only them can do that. And of course, as I said before, you can present all the creatives of your community, both on what they do and who they are, what they do, and where they work. This one is another very complicated advanced feature, but essentially describes how one city can organize its own projects, or one city can organize a project with other creative cities, its own cluster, interacting between themselves or with the manager of the platform. The feature essentially like this is what we use for organizing Breads of the Creative Cities. The proposed milestones, because we want to, my personal objective is to make sure that by September 23, so by UCCM 15 in Istanbul, we have something to show to the other clusters, is to start as soon as possible. Actually, we started evaluating possibilities soon after we left Santos. And I would like to have inputs from all of you so that we define what are the minimal objectives, what is the team that will work on this project, and make sure that we select the third parties that should develop this project, this website. Once we've done that, hopefully by early next year, the website should be developed, the basic functions of the website should be developed, and immediately we can coordinate for connecting the advanced features of the offered by the Creative Knowledge Platform to add more details, more information about the creatives of each community. If we were to do this, as indicated here in January, probably 3 months will be enough for the development of website by a third party. And in parallel, we can start collecting already detailed information about each community. So the objective, milestone 3 of September 2023, it is reachable, is obtainable without much efforts. Again, let me summarize here. What you need to prepare, make sure that it's available, is for the basic functionality, find a third party which creates the minimum information for the website, and also you, member city, prepare the information that is needed to load that information onto the prepared website. If you want to be part also of the advanced functionalities offered by the Creative Knowledge platform, you should add more effort and make sure that at least you include 5 members, creative people of your community, and with description of what they do and how they do it, where they do it, so that an itinerary that describes how to get in contact with those people can be performed, can be achieved. The advanced feature of the third-party developer is important. It will be a distinguishing factor of our website, but even if it is done after September 23, I think nobody can complain and say that we don't have a website. I prepared also a little budget based on what we have been asking around in the other clusters. In particular, design has been very helpful in identifying how they behave, how they organize their website and the management of their website. So the most important thing now is to find funding for the initial startup phase, to pay for a third party that will develop the website. As I said, the Creative Knowledge platform is offered by the foundation, so there is no cost for that. And then we have definitely to find some funds to make sure that the website is managed and maintained over the years. See here I put a number which is €1,000, but that number may vary, going up, going down, depending how many members can participate into providing the funds for this project. And it would be nice if a group of 5 or 6 creative cities will offer special contributions to make sure that this project can fly, can start. And then once this is operational, we have to consider an annual fee, and I copied the same number that the design group is requiring from all the members, which is €500, which essentially will cover the annual fees for the hosting of the website and the maintenance of the updating of the information if that information is not directly updated by each member. So this is a basic concept for the website. What we need is to make sure that you help in defining the basic things and help in finding a way of covering the startup phase for the website. Thank you.
Thank you, Giuseppe, for your research and compiling this, and for the foundation for their offer to help. Don't go far. We'll have you back up here in a few minutes. Okay. We are conscious of the fact that not everyone has large budgets. We are looking for some of our larger communities, cities, to help. We're looking at ways that we might raise some money. So when we come to a meeting like this, we might each bring an item that another member might give a donation for that item. So there are some ways that we can raise some money to help this without having official sales. When you get to selling something in a foreign country, it doesn't work for us. Customs doesn't like that. But if we have items that we can make a donation to get an item from your country, your city, a handmade item, I think we can do that. So thank you. So, all right, let me get myself together again. One way that, I know I'm off the script, and I'm sorry. One way that we will already, in my city, in Paducah, begin preparing is that getting good photos is not always easy. A good photo of your artists in action and gathering a story. So I've budgeted some money for some professional photos. So I'm beginning to build towards what I need in my community. All right, let me get this open here. Okay. So there are a couple of things I would like to ask from the membership before we move on. We're not quite ready to vote. We're still defining how we vote, but I do ask for your consensus as the sub-network to support the initiatives that we're talking about here today, to support the governance guidelines as presented as a working document to lead the sub-network until a final report is presented at the 2023 sub-network annual meeting in Limoges. I ask for the consensus for the website committee to proceed with the plan so that they can gather the information and present it to us in Limoges. Sooner maybe if possible. But those are our two main things that I would like, and also the consensus to support our key accomplishment, which is the creation of the regional coordinators, the 5 regional coordinators. Now, here's the hard part, because how do we do this? So I'm asking, as I did earlier, if you have an objection to this consensus of an approval to move forward with this guidance, which is much more than we ever had. If you have a question, you can put it into the chat room, or you can email me directly. There are changes and updates to be made, because as humans, as soon as we write something down, we want to make a correction. But I think the changes are minimal in the governance. Vittorio and Peter did a really good job of reviewing this, and I can't tell you how many times it was reviewed. And I appreciate it. Vittorio, I think you're online here, and thank you for your work. You're much appreciated. So, I think the consensus in the room is to support this project. And if you do have something you'd like to ask about that, please put it in the chat room, and I'll be asking the guys at the back of the room to keep an eye out for your question. Do we see anything coming back there? If not, I will consider this an agreement to move forward with these guidelines to be formally voted upon at our next meeting, and everyone will know how to vote. I don't see hybrid meetings going away, especially with budgets and the size of our meetings, the size of our membership. So as we go to planning new meetings, we will have to consider how people will vote when they're participating through the hybrid. Vittorio, I see you turned on your camera. Do you have something to add? He's frozen. Okay. Is he moving? He's giving us the eye there. It looks like he's typing, maybe not. Do we have anything popping up on the chat back there? He's checking, okay. So while that is happening, Giuseppe, don't get comfortable. We're going to talk about something that was introduced earlier today by Como, and yesterday, by Como. And it is a project that has a structure. Now we have a new committee that's going to be looking at more projects, but this is one that has a structure. It has been introduced, and we would like to, yes, okay. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, let's look at all these. All right, hold on that, Vittorio. Let's see what these are. A question about the rule. What about Kathy? I'm here. What is the difference between the committee? What is the difference between the committee and the committee office?
So I don't see here anything against.
No, I don't see anything against it. Kathy, we will talk more as we read in these guidelines. The committee office. I'm not sure how you mean that. The committee, it will be made up of our members. And there are, when we talk about a description of that office, maybe that's the wrong terminology, but it is the description of what the responsibilities of that committee would be. Does that make sense? Anything to add to that, Peter? I'm not sure. Okay, it will be defined in the rules. So we do note that this is a question about the wording, about the committee office. Vittorio, are you still there? I think he went off. He can't open his microphone. Oh, gosh. Okay.
Hello, Mary. Good afternoon.
Who is this? Oh,
This is Kathy speaking. This is Kathy speaking.
Yes, thank you, Kathy.
Because I have read through all the rules since I got it, and there, as you explained, there is a little confused about the term of coordinational community and the community office. It seems two organizations, or it's only one. It's kind of a secretary. I mean, the committee office is a secretary or assistant for coordination committee.
Yes.
I'm a little confused about these parts.
Thank you for having a good eye and spotting that. But that is some terminology that we will review and make it more clear. And Peter, I think, has a microphone back here. But yes, thank you for catching that. And we will look at it more closely and make it clear. And I value your input. And we will share this with you.
And Mary?
Yes.
If I might, you'll see a continuing theme in the draft rules, which is all relates to communication. It is a responsibility that is placed upon the coordinator at the highest level of the subgroup. There are aspects of communication and participation that are assigned to the deputy coordinator, but part of the objective to mirror the UNESCO's geographic breakdown of the world in terms of the participating cities in the subgroup, so that each of them, in fact, has another point of contact who can be an amplifier, if you will, for what the cities within that particular geographic region have to say, as well as being an additional point that will have closer contact, closer relationship on an ongoing basis, on a day-to-day basis with the cities in that geographic area. So it is significantly to facilitate the capacity to both push down and also push up information and communication between participating craft and folk art members. And we can certainly work on clarifying that.
Yes, indeed. Which, whenever you have a question, which leads to the fact, would you like to be on that committee? And since you have such an eagle eye, we probably could use your help. So there you go. Thank you. Thank you. Did Vittorio, were you able to?
It's gone.
He's gone. Maybe we'll see him come back on. So without any big objections, we will move forward knowing that our guidelines are not 100%, but we are getting close and we are getting some organization. I feel good about this. I feel like we are really laying the groundwork for the future in being able to hand to the next leadership, here is your guidebook, here is how we work. When we were small, it didn't work that way. It was all in your head. So now we are beginning to have good structure, and I'm really thankful for that. Okay, are we all right? Everything good? Okay.
So we assume that it is approved.
Approved to move forward with these working documents and for the committees to continue their work, approval of the regional coordinators, knowing that we have some people that may not want to be on two committees, so there might be changes, as there always are, but we are adaptable. And we know how our world goes, especially when we're influenced by politics. So now I ask Giuseppe to continue with explanation of a program. And what I like about this, just like Days of Bread, they're focused on artisan efforts that are part of everybody's life. Bread, common to all of us. Fiber, common to all of us. If it be decorative, if it be your clothes, if it be a necessary item, fiber is a part of everything we do. And so I hand it over to you to help explain a project that we'd like to move forward on.
Okay, thank you. Can I have it on the screen? Right, thank you. So I stopped for a second on this slide, not just to look at the title of the possible project, A Journey Through Threads, Fiber and Textiles of the Creative Cities, but on the second line which says a participatory project of the Craft and Folk Art UCCs. And the participatory here is key. So should not be a project that is managed only by the foundation, but should be a project which the foundation helps some creative cities to carry forward. That said, the basic idea here is, as for Brides of the Creative Cities, we try to find a universal concept that was basic to the human livelihood and food in general. So bread being one of the basic ones and shelter are the first two. The third basic need for humankind is wear some piece of clothing, something that covers, something that protects from cold, helps going through different situations, or be a social representation of a status of a person. So everyone has in their community, in its community, a cultural representation of threads, fibers, and textile that are meaningful for being part of this project. And so we see a very strong similarities to Brides of the Creative Cities. And the same methodology that we use there could be applied. As I said, the only difference is this time the foundation should be just supporting the creative cities, not the other way around. And we have already lined up 4 members of the cluster that are either interested or already making proposals in how to start this project, how to concentrate on some particular features of the project itself. So Como and Nassau led the way. Como is interested in the cultural significance of both textiles and the clothing, the fashion connected to what comes out of this effort. And Nassau is interested in straws because it's a connector also to another important project that is within the UCCN, which is describing the diaspora from the African continent, and what was that in terms of cultural effects around the world. Of course, Paducah, everybody knows that is connected to quilting, so quilting is such an incredible concept toward reusing, and never throwing away anything. Santa Fe could be an incredible leader in connecting to the needs and the characteristics of the native people of the Americas, and from them all over the other continent that are covered by the UCCN. So these are 4, but I hope that we get more, because we have to have different perspective on what this project could mean for all the creative cities of craft. So far, what we have been able to do is make sure that we talk about who is involved in thread production, who is involved in fiber transformation, who is involved into creating fabrics, and also who is at the end of the process, who is involved in transforming into a fashion item, something that is wearable because in that community has a specific meaning. And in particular here is at the bottom, it's a loop that describes how the process could work, who are the people involved here that we need to make sure we describe their effort, their activity, their creativity in this project. And so whoever makes sure that the threads are made, are prepared, the basic fibers for making threads and textiles are available. Designers that interact with artisans to make sure that the outcome is connected to the community, is connected to a consumer market, so that in a continuum going back and forth, all the elements are creating an unicum and a viable product. As we do for the Brides of the Creative Cities, each member that should be described in this process should go through a set of activity, like describing what they do, possibly with textile format, but also with other multimedia formats, like videos, like pictures, like even interviews, people talking, the knowledge keeper of a community describing by voice, maybe even in his own language, how he does or she does that action, that activity. Again, here is the same concept of managing the project. A little idea about where we are now. We are even in an earlier stage compared to the website, because we still need to collect more of the objective of this project. So you're really solicited to provide that input to us, as the other 4 members of the cluster started doing. And as soon as we obtain this information, we are ready to put together a pilot project, and then actually, let me describe this in details. So the startup phase is making sure that we have the complete vision of who wants to help, and allocate to each of the people some activity, so that they can complete at least the identification of the people we want to talk about in their community, making sure that the information that we want to collect is codified and made into a template, so everyone gets the same sets of questions. Make sure that how to handle the project in each community follow some common guidelines so that we don't distinguish between different localities, different cities, but we have the same guidelines to obtain. And in particular, also, we set up some standards for communicating to other members of the cluster what we are doing and how we are progressing. Once we have completed that, as I was saying, we need a small number of cities that might even not be the same ones that help in defining. I hope that they are, but even if they are not the one that help in defining the standard of the project, we can start collecting the basic information. We can prepare then some outputs that can be used to promote within the community that participated in the project or outside of that community, and make sure that we talk about the uniqueness of the project so that we attract more and more people to this. As soon as the content is approved by the project manager, it will be available online for everyone to peruse, and sometimes we could even plan for a dedicated printout, like a booklet that describes the situation of the project. Once we have stabilized with enough members of the Creative Cities of Craft and Folk Art, then we could do an extension of this project to other members of the Creative Cities. So outside of the cluster of Craft and Folk Art, because again, as for Breads of the Creative Cities, threads, fibers, and textiles are common to everyone. So even a multimedia member can have a contribution to this project and so forth. At this stage, I think what I'm asking is just your inputs, your suggestions, your collaboration, and making sure that this project can start, and again, being a collaborative project of the cluster. Thank you.
Thank you, Giuseppe. If you have not seen the Breads of the Creative Cities book or the Days of Bread, it is a fabulous piece. It is available online. I love the online piece. It's easy to share with people. So many cities are a part of it. What I like about this structure is it can be adapted. It could be for ceramics. It could be for any of our art, our styles of art. I was thinking of just when we've been together with Nassau, I have a little straw purse, placemats woven from Peak Logan. There's fiber and scarves and silk like we saw today here in Jinju. It's an exciting project. Now, this is different from other collaborations that does not rule out the other types of collaborations within our subnetwork. And I look forward to the scientific committee identifying other ways we can work together and share and learn from one another. Okay, thank you. So I have one last thing, and this was a forum, North American Creative Cities Forum, that I was invited to attend this summer, August. Time is going quickly. There were 26 North American creative cities participating, and like so many of the meetings that we've had, where we've had declarations to set our intent and let others share, to share with others what we strive to do, identify ourselves. The North American Creative Cities did a declaration. I would like us to consider endorsing this to show our support of this regional group. There are other regional groups, as you know, Korea, Italy, US. I know there are other regional or countrywide creative city groups. And the more we can support each other, the better. So I'd like to share with you what the points are in this declaration. These are intentions that they hope to translate into concrete actions, and which they commit themselves. You should also have a copy of this emailed to you. So it's work on the construction of a collaborative agenda in which the interest of organized society, universities, government, and the creative sector of all of the cities are represented. Design and implement projects among the cities of North America that consider the exchange between two or more creative fields to promote the exchange and stays of creatives from different cities for the development of capacities and the transmission of knowledge. To build a platform for the dissemination of good practice, programs, and creative events in the region. Sounds a bit like a website. So I ask us to give our support, to endorse this declaration, as when we have a declaration, we will share with other groups within our UNESCO Creative Cities network to show that we support their efforts to continue our own goals. And once again, we'll look at the chat room, and if you have any questions, please let me know. But I would really like to be able to share with the North American Creative Cities that yes, we support and endorse their declaration. If you have not seen the declarations done by this sub-network, I urge you to look at them. Let's see, there was one done in Paducah, there was one in Carrera, one in San Cristobal, yes. Isaac's here. I think that's it. If we only had 3. We chose this time to not go to the declaration. We have so much other organizational work that we're doing, but to rather look at what our peers are doing and show our support. Okay. Any comments? Can we check that chat room real quick, please? Oops. Whoop. Nothing like seeing yourself. There you go. Okay. Yes. Do we have something? Excuse me. So we all know that Jinju is hosting the Biennale. And this year is focused on dance and the performing arts. There will be a Biennale performance at the Jinju Castle at 1900 Korean Standard Time. You can enjoy this performance through this same Zoom link. And it will be opened at 6:50 Korean Standard Time. So that would be in about an hour and a half, no, 2 hours. So I hope that you will join us and see these wonderful musicians and dancers. They've been here all week. I've been proud to see Paducah have a group here, and every time I look at their social media, they are somewhere else here in Korea and Jinju exploring and making friends with the other creative city artists. So with that, I think that we've covered our official business. Some of the things we've talked about makes my heart beat fast as I think of the work ahead of us, but it also energizes me because we will come together and make strides towards what we really want to do as an organization. It will grow us as individuals and as a community and help our artists, help sustain the identity of our community, which our artists in the creative sector so represent who we are. So Thank you. Just a reminder, if you are interested in the committees, please reach out, let me know. If you are interested in submitting your name for a deputy coordinator, please submit your a letter, state your credentials, get your mayor to support you, and we will have an online vote on that. Yes, oh, another message. Oh, Vittorio, are you able to talk with us? Can we do it? Come on. He's
Yes.
trying. There
Yes,
he
I
is.
am.
There he is.
Okay, fantastic. I have a very bad connection, but I am with you. I heard everything, every declaration, and your work of today. So. It was a great work by Peter, by Mary, about the new rules of our cluster. I spoke with Denis Bass yesterday, and we are working about rules of these rules will be could be new rules for the entire UCCN network, because it's the first case for the 7 cluster that there is new rules for 300 cities, a network very different from the past. So I agree I agree the declaration that Mary read a few minutes ago, and this is my contribution in this condition, in this bad condition. I am in a train in this moment. So I give you a very warm greeting and many thanks for your job in this important meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Vittorio, and for your help. We value your experience and your relationship with UNESCO Creative Cities. So I'm seeing some questions of people who said they didn't get a copy of the declaration. It was sent with the agenda, but we will resend the declaration. Who is the deputy coordinator? It was Carrera. They have changes in their leadership within the city and have asked to step back for 1 year and would like to come be considered for coordinator actually it's 1.5 years. So we are looking for a deputy coordinator to serve for the next 1.5 years, and then that person would become coordinator. I will tell you, I think it's going to take some really strong leadership. I think it's going to take knowledge. We need to build that. Serving on these committees will help us build that knowledge and of one another, our programs, and prepare ourselves to move forward. Alhassa, thank you. Yes. But I can't tell you how excited it is for me to see the people who are participating and that you're right there with us. Even though you're not in person, you're with us. And thank you. Thank you. Look at that. Somebody get a picture. That's great. Thanks. Oh, Nakuro. Yes, there you are. Hello. Gitao. Now, we talked about you. Were you here when we talked about that you're on 2 committees? So I do want you to consider what is more important for you. Do you want to be the regional coordinator or membership? So give some thought to that, and we'll think of other people here, online or in person, who are interested in working with the new membership program or as a regional coordinator. So thank you. I'm glad that you're with us. This is so good. Any other comments from our online friends? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's good. 17. Wow. All right. Professor, do you have an estimate of how many people totaled would have participated in our annual meeting? 27. 27 cities. Let me tell you, that is as good a participation as we've ever had. And you know what? It's almost exactly half of our members. So we have our work cut out for us to reach out and include these folks. We want them to be part of our family. We want them to be our friends that we can turn to, share knowledge, share programs. And with that, thank you again. And I hope that we see our faces again and find ourselves working together. I'd love to do online meetings. It's tough. And I will just share with you who are, you've heard it already, those in person, as we were working on the governance. The meetings in my time zone began at 11:30 at night. For Vittorio and for Giuseppe, 6 a.m. Yes. Now, we cut Jinju some slack because they were our hosts and we were very appreciative. So their meeting was in the middle of the day. So, but meetings are not always easy, but as we have these regional coordinators, we hope that we can have some regional meetings, people who are on closer time zones, and then we'll take turns. I'd like to be as part of as many of those as I can, but we have some advisors in looking at our previous coordinators, and we are going to call on those folks to help us and to have the communication and to share their experience. Does it sound like a plan? Marina, that's a beautiful picture that you have. That looks very pretty. All right, as I humbly look at myself. Okay, let's call this to a close. Thank you, dear friends. Bye-bye.